other countries. In Asia, I performed the first successful liver transplant in 1984, and since then our team has carried out more than 2,500 liver transplants. Along the way, we have been privileged to accomplish several milestones. The first living donor liver transplant in Taiwan, the first split liver transplant in Asia, and technical innovations and refinements in LDLT. Each of the steps was not mine alone, but a combination of teamwork, persistence, and collaboration across borders. Beyond the OR, I try to contribute by publication and lectures. But perhaps my greatest joy has been training more than 400 fellows and observers from around the world. To see the younger generation surpass us, that I believe is the true measure of leadership. As we gather under the theme, leadership, sharing the excellence, we together continue to push the field forward, sharing knowledge, supporting one another, and ensuring our patients benefit from effort and innovations.
Good afternoon, Congressman Frank. I'm honored to share how our experience in liver transplantation has been a model for surgical innovations and education of the young generation and an avenue for empowering social responsibility. This is the patient with typical features of end-stage liver disease. She was able to return normal life 1 month after transplant and has remained well ever since. Why does living donor liver transplantation flourish in Asia? Because Asia has the lowest deceased donor donation rate in the world. While Westerners campaign to promote organ donation, Easterners sharpen their skills and focus on LDLT as it is more acceptable in most Asian cultures. Where the pioneering work in liver transplantation began with Professor Starr in the US, Asia has taken the lead in advancing LDLT. Asian centers are the train engines driving forward the technical innovations in LDLT. This was one of the 5 Asian LDLT center meetings held in Kaohsiung, Taiwan. At our center, we have been doing 1 to 3 liver transplant LDLT per week and have performed over 2,500 liver transplants to date. 89% were LDLT. In Taiwan, the organ transplant outcomes are published regularly by the Ministry of Health to ensure public health awareness and transparency. In the latest data published, our center continues to be the most active center with the best survival of 91% at 3 years. Most of our international patients choose us for our survival outcomes, like this American patient with HCV cirrhosis and portal vein occlusion. The portal vein was reconstructed using her remodeled triple sheet interposition graft. She's back in California now, 16 years after transplant. Dr. Dean, with acute concurrent liver failure, was referred for urgent transplant. Operative finding of advanced cirrhosis and multiple HCC. After LDLT, he attended our preceptorship program held in Kaohsiung and actively helping liver disease patients in Vietnam. Here is a glimpse of our LDLT story broadcast by National Chen.
Arriving from Dubai is the Armin family, who are originally from the Philippines. She urgently needs a liver transplant, so the family is rushed straight to the hospital opening up its beds to patients from abroad. The only solution is a liver transplant, a tricky operation in one so small. For Ia, a transplant will give her the best chance to survive. Dr. Chen Chao-Long is the surgeon who will carry out the operation. He has one of the highest transplant 5-year survival rates in the world.
This girl is doing well in Dubai. Our Filipino liver transplant patients organized this reunion during my lecture in Manila. My patient for liver surgery was inspired by Professor T.Y. Lin, who devised the finger fracture technique for liver resection and was invited to contribute textbook chapters. And I was requested to create surgical illustrations. Being a third-year surgical resident at that time, I had never seen a liver surgery, so I had to immerse myself to study liver anatomy and surgery. Because of this opportunity, liver transplantation has become my lifelong commitment. In '82, I was in Toronto for pediatric surgery training. While in Toronto, I came across a publisher's poster for the textbook highlighting over 240 magnificent figures. As I looked closer, they were my own illustrations. I first met Professor Stadler during his lecture in Toronto. I approached him with my burning questions about liver transplantation and my desire to train under him. In '83, I moved to Pittsburgh. But then, even at the hands of world's most renowned surgeon, liver transplantation could still be a very bloody operation. You always need to be careful with blood spillage. You need the standing stool so that your feet will not be soaked in blood. The operative gear then at Pittsburgh will withstand heavy blood contamination. This vintage picture of fellows at Pittsburgh in '83 must have since gone on to become leaders in the field. It is well known that survival after liver transplantation was greatly improved with the discovery of cyclosporine. But in '83, cyclosporine was not yet available in Asia, so I had to go to Santos, Switzerland to pursue cyclosporine to be introduced for clinical trial. In those days, none of my colleagues in Taiwan had ever seen a liver transplant surgery. Every weekend, we ran simulation exercise using animal models. The organ preservation solution was not commercially available, so we had to find the composition from the literature and make our own current solution. All the painstaking effort culminated in '84 with the first liver transplant in Taiwan. The patient in hepatic coma and shock in the ICU underwent the transplant just in time, 1 week after transplant. And this patient was the first successful liver transplant in Asia. This operation had a profound impact in Taiwan, especially with regard to the concept of brain death. The chief prosecutor even sent a letter expressing great concern, and I was 33 years of old at the time. Through painstaking effort, Taiwan became the first in Asia to have legislation on brain death and organ transplantation, 10 years ahead of Japan and 12 years before Korea. In '97, we performed the first split liver transplant in Asia, followed by the first cross-strait sharing of liver graft in '99. Our pediatric BA infant is now a proud mother of 2 children. 11 years later, the cross-strait collaboration was repeated
with Hong Kong reciprocated by offering a deceased donor liver graft to Taiwan. In collaboration with Tokyo University, we began exploring the possibility of LDLT as early as 88 before any successful clinical attempt. 2 years later, Professor Makuji performed the first successful LDLT in Asia in 90. And I'm honored to have been invited to participate in this historical event. In fact, Japanese media was so inspired by our international collaboration, and that they turned the story into manga comic. And this character here is supposed to be in my office. The story is mostly true, well, apart from the car shown here, being much fancier than anything I ever owned, and I cannot drive it. The story of liver transplant surgery, the courage and altruism of the living donors, and the historical international collaboration inspired a series of novels with over 1 million copies sold in Japan. A movie based on the novel, The Long Schedule, was made, featuring brain death concept and liver transplantation. Regarding technical innovations, in order to ensure excellent hepatic venous outflow, we devised this recipient triple venoplasty technique to create a single wide orifice for the leg graft since our first LDLT in 1994, and various graft venoplasty technique to ensure sufficient outflow for right graft, including all-in-one venoplasty, and extensive utilization of cryopreserved vascular graft. To avoid devascularization of the graft bile duct, we devised complete hydrophilic circling technique since our first living donor, followed by sharp division using scissors. In biliary reconstruction, we have gone through an evolutionary change. Since 2006, we started a routine microsurgical technique, where 23% of the graft, the multiple duct openings, our overall biliary complication rate was 13%. This is our recent publication of different methods of microsurgical biliary reconstruction and case number of each method for single duct opening, 2 duct opening, 3 duct openings. There was significantly increase in biliary complication in cases with multiple duct openings. We performed the first LDLT in Taiwan in 1994. In pediatric biliary atresia is the most common indication. Typical remarkable recovery achieved after LDLT for BA. A picture taken 30 years ago with Taiwan's first 5 LDLT. Our 5-year survival rate for BA was 98% in our first reported series. PV complications remain as the most common surgical complication. In 2009, our novel PV stenting through the people stump was first performed, which has remained patent 16 years to date. People stump approach has gained prominence for PV stenting due to technical convenience and consistent result with no technical failure and excellent long-term outcome. For adult, HCC is the most common indication. As mandated by Taiwan National Health Insurance Policy, we have to adhere to the Milan criteria since 1999 and UCSF criteria since 2006. Therefore, for more than 2 decades now, we have always aimed to downstage SCC with local regional therapy to fit criteria prior to LDLT. Like this case, who was initially beyond criteria, but 80% tumor necrosis was achieved with TAE before transplant. He remains recurrence-free for 24 years to date. Our experience with pre-transplant downstaging was effective in bridging patients who were initially beyond criteria to fit the criteria. Our LDLT survival for HCC achieved 90% at 5 years in our first reported series. Sequential LDLT is another approach to fast-track patients for transplant if there's a high risk of recurrence, like this patient's multifocality and microvascular invasion shown in resection pathology. 3 months later, he underwent sequential LDLT despite having no identifiable tumor in imaging study. The liver explant disclosed as 6 mm SCC, and he remains recurrence-free for 24 years today. Among our sequential LD for HCC, excellent outcomes were achieved with 5-year survival of 96%. Recurrence-free survival was comparable between patients within criteria at presentation and those who were successfully downstage to fit the criteria, with a 5-year survival of 90%. Our recurrence rate in PET positive HCC has been as high as 31%, as opposed to only 7% in PET negative HCC. If there's no viable HCC in the liver explant, the recurrence rate is only 1.2% compared to 12.6% if there's a viable HCC. We therefore modify our strategy aiming for complete pathological necrosis even in cases that fit criteria and are PET negative. Aggressively downstage HCC beyond criteria and obtain tissue diagnosis for PET positive HCC to exclude this unfavorable histopathology. During the past 5 years of the COVID pandemic, we started to selectively employ proton therapy to bridge or downstage locally advanced or aggressive HCC. This was our first case whose recurrent HCC was contiguous with MHV and IHD invasion. Proton was employed and PET scan showed significant reduction in FDG uptake. The feeding defect in the distal CVD removed during transplant surgery was 100% necrotic HCC on histopathology. Explant pathologists revealed poorly differentiated HCC with bile duct invasion, but he has been recurrence-free for 5.5 years after LDLT and has actively resumed religious activities. These patients with locally advanced HCC, such as poorly differentiated with bile duct invasion or local PVTT, generally considered as a strict contraindication to transplant. They underwent LDLT following proton as downstaging of bridging therapy. All have so far HCC recurrence-free. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we also started to employ TLRE with Y90 to downstage locally advanced HCC. Our first case underwent resection for a poorly differentiated HCC. 3 months later, she developed bilocal multiple recurrence. Y90 was given for downstaging, and PET scan showed complete metabolic response, and she has since been recurrence-free 5 years after LDLT. Another example of numerous bilobar viable SCC, where Y90 downstaging achieve 100% necrosis on X prime. In our experience with TLI with Y90, successful downstaging followed by LDLT achieve the best survival outcome. For patients with exceedingly large SCC, I believe liver resection is the most effective way of downstaging. This patient has large 18 cm fully differentiated SCC with lobar PVTT and multiple bilobar total nodules. Right hepatectomy with tumor thrombectomy was undertaken. Pathology showed fully differentiated SCC of the main tumor and PVTT. 1 month later, she received TLI with Y90 for multiple residual SCC, and 6 months later, she underwent LDLT. Explant pathology showed nearly complete pathological necrosis, and she has been recurrence-free for 3.5 years after LDLT. Powerful modern local, regional, and systemic therapies may effectively bridge or downstream locally advanced or aggressive SCC in preparation for timely LDLT with promising survival outcome in patients with otherwise dismal prognosis. We have a long tradition of sharing our skills and experience by MPT demonstration on LDLT. In 1996, we were invited to perform the first LDLT in the Philippines. This was the first LDLT in Beijing, China, with our 14-member MPT who demonstrated in Peking University Hospital in 2001. This event saw some diagrammatic eyes and was highlighted in newspapers in Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Chen as the first and largest cross-strait collaboration in history to undertake a life-saving operation. Shanghai Renji Hospital is an outstanding example of our successful skill transfer. Our first MPT demonstration on LDLT in Shanghai, followed by repeated MPT demonstration. With our continued support, starting 17 and before the COVID, they performed more than 800 liver transplants per year, making them among the largest in the world. More than 130 liver transplant professors from China's leading university hospital came to Kaohsiung to learn LDLT, and we have trained more than 400 international fellows and observers today. Kaohsiung Guatemala Medical Mission was organized in 2010, and after the rural clinic, I was invited to address at the presidential office. We propose to unveil the sponsorship of the fellowship programs for Guatemala doctors to train in Taiwan and taken the first batch of Guatemala fellows. On personal request of Guatemala President, we perform S2 monosegment LDLT on this Guatemalan baby, San Diego. A letter of appreciation from the President. Our medical diplomatic effort deepens international collaboration and earned an invitation for a trans-Pacific revisit. I'm honored to meet Guatemalan President again and delighted to find San Diego in good health. My pleasure to meet Dominican President. Our fellowship training program was appreciated by the President and his cabinet. We also extend our medical outreach program with Paraguay President. I was bestowed with the honorary PhD at the National University of Asunción and at the Autónoma University in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. the oldest university in the whole American continent. In all three countries, we were warmly welcomed and honored by the President and their cabinet. Further recognition was the highest civilian award, Medal of Command, conferred by the President of Central American Parliament. Our trained team in Rio, Brazil, became the largest liver transplant program in South America. And the Guatemala team also successfully started LD in 21. 3 decades ago, a handful of Asian pioneer celebrities began the campaign for LD. Today, it is a specialty that has crossed borders and exponentially gaining global traction. As Professor Stadler said, what was inconceivable yesterday and very achievable today often becomes routine tomorrow. Professor Stadler is a legendary pioneer of liver transplantation. This field would not have flourished without his groundbreaking contribution. I am delighted to present you with the 1926 vintage wine made in his first year. I refuse A-PHPBA. Medicine is about saving lives and selfless contribution. I believe that we used to receive help from the US, Europe, and Japan. Now, with our medical advancement, it's time to give back to the international community. Altruistic acts such as LDLP and medical mission unite people across borders in the struggle against disease and in pursuit of medical progress. I thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much.